Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, then there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, so toss me a buck or two in the super chat if you're enjoying these streams. But most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the show or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Sleeping Warrior. How are you doing, Sleeping Warrior?
Good morning. Slept well. All my batteries are recharged and I'm ready to go.
Excellent. I understand you want to show us something or discuss something. Is that right?
I do. We have a response. We have a response from a guy called David James to the video that we were talking about recently with the Isle of Man. And if you present, that'd be great. I'll jump into this because if we do it first, it's better than doing it midway through so people can see it straight away. This is cutting edge. This is the front line. This is bang up to date. And I'm just going to go through it. Basically, he says that we've got it wrong because we've got the scale wrong. And he makes 3 points, essentially, in this video. What he's saying is that if we line up one of the peaks with the lower part of the Isle of Man, then we get the scale for the rest of the island. And obviously, that was the first thing that we did. That was literally the first scale that we tried to do. And what we found when we did that is that nothing lined up down the left-hand side with the composite. Now, what you're actually testing when you do this is you're testing Google against real world. So this makes logical sense. This is what we did, and it's obviously what all the ballers did, and it's obviously the key point to getting what everybody accepts is the scale. However, if it don't match down the left-hand side, it's wrong. And what it means by it's wrong is it means that either the scale is wrong or Google Maps is wrong, either or, because it's got to match. If we're told that we live on a ball and that Google Earth is the working model, then it has to bear some resemblance to real world. And if real world is real world, it don't matter what Google Earth says. Real world is real world. So his first point was that we've got the scale wrong, and we should have used the mountain edge against the edge that's here. Obviously, I agree with that. That's exactly what we did. However, nothing lined up. Absolutely nothing. So it's all right claiming this to be the correct way of doing it, but you have to accept that we did do this originally, and then we had to dismiss it in the end because nothing lined up. So that told us that either the maps were wrong or this is the wrong scale. So what we tried to do is get the scale. And when we were trying to get the scale, we decided that we would go with what's down the left-hand side to get us the scale. But then that put the right-hand side out. So we were sat in a position where we were like, well, what do we go with? Do we go with real world and then model that on Google Earth? Or do we use Google Earth as the real world and try and make the picture fit? So we tried it both ways, and neither really worked. What you get on one side, you mess up on the other side. What you get on the right side, you mess up on the opposite side. And I'd say to David, check your work. Check that if you do it the way you say, what can you line up down the left-hand side? And is it accurate? And you'll find that the answer is not. It doesn't work. So we were then considering, well, is it the maps that's right? Is it the maps that's wrong? So in the end, we thought, right, real world is the composite. That's what we can really see. Forget what the maps say. That's what we can really see. So we lined up everything down the left that we could line up. And Ranty's got it pretty much spot on. But it puts this stuff out on the right-hand side. So you have to realize that the real world is truth. Okay? The maps might not be truth. And in my position, are not accurate. But real world is what we see. So if I bring up the contrast screen, which will be here. Whether this is real world, if this was Google Earth, everybody would say it was right. But this is actually real world. So this is what you actually see when you do this. And when you line all these things up, it doesn't line up on the right-hand side if you do the left. But this is real world. So the problem is, if you then line up stuff on the left, which is this point that David cited, nothing else lines up. So the only conclusion that you can logically and reasonably come to is that the scale isn't right on Google Earth. It's that simple. If it don't line up on one side, it means it's not going to line up on the other side. And whatever you do to one side affects the other side. So you actually can't get a fixed scale when using Google Earth. For good reason, of course. Google Earth, I showed in the beginning of the other show, I showed that when you use the grid lines, when you're looking over this kind of distance, you can see that the grid lines show that lines that are straight to the eye are bent in real world. Now, obviously, in real world, there's no bent lines. You see things with straight lines because we see in straight lines. And I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Nobody sees bendy lines in real world. Everything's straight. However, on Google Earth, when you look up to the horizon, I've got to do this slow because they turn it off on you because they don't want you to see this kind of stuff. But you can see, I can't even get it right there now. Let me drop it back down and bring it back up. They don't want you to see this. When you get your best
curvy lines up, and I'm going to make the screen nice and big once you do, so just keep it on screen. There you go. There you go. Give me 1 second.
Sure. Now, I can't get this any bigger because the minute I pick my elevation off the altitude, the horizon, this drops. They don't want you to see this. But the simple fact is, if we live on a ball, we have curly lines, bendy lines. In real world, we do not have bent or curly lines. We only have straight lines. If you see it, it's because it's in front of you. You're looking at it. You're not following the curvature of any Earth.
Sorry to interrupt again. Just for the illustration, because if I try and do it with my mouse, it brings up the Google toolbar and it covers it. But if you can just literally move your mouse pointer over one of the far right curvy line, because that's the most exaggerated. There you go. That's how much it's curving away from your vantage point. I mean, it's ludicrous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, this bendy curvature nature is based on the longitude and latitude lines. Now, in real world, these are straight. So there's a paradigm shift here. There's a paradox because you have to ask yourself, what is it we're looking at? Are we looking at bendy lines the way that we're told? Or is it straight because it's in front of you? And obviously, my position is that it's flat, it's straight. We're looking flat across it, and we're looking in a straight line. We're not looking at it in a three-dimensional sphericalness because you have the drop-off going away from you, but you also have the drop-off left to right. And this is evidenced by their model. It's forced by their model, and it doesn't happen in real world. So this is why the scale point is important. This is real world. This is what you actually see, and it looks pretty flat. It looks exactly the way you would expect the landscape to look. And this is what we decided we would work on regardless of what the maps say, because fundamentally and absolutely, this is real world, regardless of any model. So if you're going to go with this point as your land point, and then you're going to go with the peak of one of the mountains as your alternative point, that's great. But if you check your work to see that it's correct, you will see things like Magellan Lighthouse. And Magellan Lighthouse is supposed to be behind the curvature of the Earth in its entirety. Now, I'll digress slightly onto David's third point. David's point was that this cliff face should be completely obscured behind the curvature of the Earth. Now, he's quite correct. We went with Magellan Lighthouse because Jeremy spotted it, and it fell in nicely into the curvature point. Had Jeremy have mentioned this point, we'd have focused on this point, and then that would have gone behind the curvature of the Earth. Now, David is quite right. This is a flat Earth proof in itself because this should be behind the curve. Now, we only didn't notice it because it didn't come up in the curvature point. It came up in the alignment point. But David is quite right. This should be behind the curvature of the Earth. And I'll show you for why. If I put my line of sight in, get rid of these lines here. View.
Yeah, get rid of those bendy, crazy lines.
Yeah, because we don't have bendy lines in real world. And that is my position. So
just so we've got it on record. So we've got son of an astronaut M. Scott Veach in the chat, and he says in real world the lines bend. So it just seems interesting that in Rumpus's demonstration, when he was explaining about non-standard refraction bending the light all the way around the curve of the Earth, he didn't in any way describe light that bent left or bent right, but yet that's what we seem to have in Google. But yeah, just to point that out to you, M. Scott Veach, hasn't been anything presented to us so far that would indicate that light bends left and right, nor does it in any way fit with your account for us seeing this stuff. Just wanted to point that out to you.
So the distance from the point is 32 miles, okay? So when we put this into the curve calculators, 32 miles, viewer height, we'll put it at the 52. The drop is the only value that we're interested in now. It used to be the case that we were interested in this refracted hidden, but nobody had ever challenged it. Me, nobody, no one that I know challenged it. There was the odd people that got further into the debate that suggested my point, which is this. And it's not my point, it's just suggested this is actually it. And they were laughed at by the ballers because nobody else challenged it, nobody else argues it, because everybody seems to accept this. But when you get further into the debate that we're at, then you realize that actually all we're interested in is whether that cliff face has dropped behind the curve of the Earth. And that curve is a geometric curve, according to their science, according to their model. It is a geometric curve, so it should drop. And that's the drop. That is the elevation of drop. So even if we went with the refracted hidden, which we're not doing, that's 288 feet behind the curvature of the Earth. This sits at 200 feet. So this would be behind the Earth in any event. And I'm going to credit David James from the video for pointing this out. Now, we would have come across this had the conversation gone in a different way, but in any event, this thing shouldn't be there. But that's not the geometric curve of the Earth. The geometric curve of the Earth is this value, right? 682 feet behind the curvature of the Earth. That's the geometric drop. Now, if we live on a spheroid, that's what we're using. We can dismiss refracted drop because the effects of refraction are negligible and not worth considering. So we're applying drop because that's what the science tells us to do. All this other nonsense is literally nonsense. We don't need it. The only value that we need is drop. 700 almost. And it sits at 200. So that's gone beyond the curve of the Earth. So what David James is saying is that this in itself is a flat Earth proof. And I agree, it is. It's the same as the Magellan lighthouse. The whole lighthouse should be behind the curve. But if that was behind the curve of the Earth, let's consider for one moment the effect of that. So I'll get a straight edge. So we'll pull up a fresh window on Google. Now you'll have to accept that this isn't actually dead straight because of the way the cameras took it. But if that thing is behind the curve of the Earth, it means that you would never see any of the land. Right? You have to compensate for some reason. When the lenses took it, there's put a pitch to it. I have no idea why. I can't explain why, but I don't think it's because we live on a concave Earth. But all of that is missing. Okay. So in itself, the argument that we're looking at Isle of Man on a ball is nonsense. It only makes sense that we could even see this if the Earth was indeed flat. Now, I'm not against the idea that this bit could be Isle of Man. But if you look at the way that the land lies on Isle of Man, you will see that it stopped basically where that point is there. And I'll show you for why. This is where David, if David checks his work, he'll realize that he's made a bit of a premature claim, because we did all this very early on. And this is where all the ballers have been getting it wrong, but claiming that they've been debunking it, and they really haven't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line in, and I'm going to just to divide off this point here with the land that goes to the back, because then we can work in this area here, and we can see what we should expect to see if indeed we were looking at Isle of Man. Now, the height is this lip, and it goes into the town of Bride. Everything else is low. So what I'm going to do is keep an eye on the elevation value, but basically this bit here is around about 200, between 100 and 200. Peels off to nothing at the back. Then we'll come back down the side. So we're back up to 250 now as we get towards Bride. So I agree, we would see Bride possibly in the picture. But then look at the rest of the values of the land. 50, 60, 100, just for a flash. Nothing. 15, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20 feet. All of this is 15. Tapers off to nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I accept that Bride may well be seen, if it could be seen at all. Wouldn't be seen on a ball, but it might be seen on a flat. Might be. But when you look at the evidence, if that's the case, you're going to see this bit, and you're going to see this possibly, because this would represent the bit to the right, because there's the mouth bit there. And you have this little bit to the right, which is where Bride sits, and that's about 250 feet. Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll agree. For the purposes of this evidence, I will accept that that could be and matching Bride. But only that bit, because I've just shown you that the rest of the island sits at practically nothing, and there is no way it's going to be there. So this land cannot be Isle of Man because there isn't any elevation for it to be. You can pick anywhere along here, 20 feet, 25, 50. There's 50 feet there. You're not going to see it. It's too low, okay? Now, on a ball, obviously, it's way gone, but if it were flat, all of this land that's around here that you guys believe is what you're seeing here is simply too flat. And we know that you can't see it because the town of Ramsey is completely missing. And why is it missing? Because it's sat in that band of that horizon stuff, mirroring, reflection, whatever. What was it? Non-standard, what's the word, Nathan? Non-standard?
Slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holograms.
There you go. So that's why Ramsey's missing. And in the evidence, that is supported by the fact that you can possibly see this cliff at thingy, definitely on a ball, but maybe on a flat. Maybe you could see that. But the only point I'm going to agree is that you may see this bit here. That bit may be Isle of Man, because that is what the evidence tells you, and it matches with what the Google elevations say. The problem is you're looking right the way down to the base of this thing. That's if we're looking at this anyway, because look at it. Look at the shape of it. You can see that it does match, and I don't disagree with this. I'm not totally against this being what it is. But what I am saying is that, firstly, yeah, David is quite correct. It is behind the curve, massively behind the curve on a ball. But if this is really what we see, we are seeing right the way down to the shore. And I don't think anybody's going to argue that because it's evidenced by the evidence. So again, my position is I accept that this could be Isle of Man. I don't think it is, personally. I don't. I think it's something else. But this bit might match, and I would agree, possibly. But if you then use that to work out what the rest of the land is, there is no more elevation on the Isle of Man for it to be. But you see that there is land here. There's a lot of it. So what can the land be? Now, if we go with the high point here, and we go with this point here, and it tapers off the way I suggest it does, I'll give you that. But the land behind it, or the other land, whatever that land might be, you get this scale here, and it stops here. This is the end of Isle of Man. Isle of Man would be here, the point of her lighthouse would be here, and that would be the end of it. And this would mean that the boat is passing in front of it. In between it, which makes perfect logical sense. A boat would travel between the Isle of Man and then the landmass that looks to that could be Scotland, and it does match Scotland on the evidence. But if this was all Isle of Man, that then puts the boat, instead of putting the boat where I'm saying it is, which is in between the two landmasses here, if we're just looking at all this land and it's all the Isle of Man, then it puts this little boat here. And that's not a main shipping route. There would be no reason for the boat to go here. It would be somewhere in this line of sight, and that's not one of the shipping routes. The shipping route is obviously this bit. So why would the boat be out of a shipping route and we know what the boat is, if it matches the fact that this is just the Isle of Man because it puts it here? Now, obviously, that's nonsense. It's somewhere along here that's not a shipping route. The shipping route is here. So the boat in itself is an issue, because the scale that you guys want this to be means that that boat is not in a shipping route. It puts it out of a shipping route, and that is a fundamental failure. That is not where the boat lives. That boat's correct position should be somewhere along this line of sight, because that's the shipping route. That in itself is an issue. And then, just to throw a spanner in the works, I'm going to recite this, and I know Nathan's going to go mad and Ranty's going to hate me for it, but fundamentally, it is part of the evidence, and there is an evidential match. If this is Isle of Man, the way that you guys are citing, why does it match this? Because it does match this, and it matches it precisely. Now, I'm more evidential than I am interpretation. I like the evidence more than I like the interpretations. I like to match it. And Ranty and I do not agree on this point at all, vehemently disagree. And Nathan's the witness. Ranty does not agree with me on this, but it's fine, because ultimately it matches the evidence. And if it matches the evidence, then for me, that's more likely to be correct. Doesn't mean it is correct, but it just means it's more likely to be, unless there can be somebody that can show otherwise. I just need to get this down a little bit. Now, if it's the case that the bleached thing is the cliff face at Bride, so if it's the case that that's the Isle of Man, and I'm not against it, it does make sense, you've got to accept that this bit here matches what we see as well. Mickey, stop it. So we've got this half moon, we've got the land to the right, and we've got an outcast of land behind it. And the dot that's there is a lighthouse, and this is a plane that's flying in the video. This is moving, this one. So ignore this one because it's the sharp bright light, that's the plane. This bit is the lighthouse. But look at the land it sits on. It's a perfect half moon, and we see a perfect half moon. We see an outcrop to the left. There's an outcrop to the left. We see a little bit of shading in this bottom right-hand corner. See a little bit of shading in the bottom right-hand corner. We see land out to the right. And we see land out to the right. So the position is, if you're going to argue and believe and accept that this matches Bride, you also have to accept that that matches Scotland. And that throws the scale out huge. So you can't have one without the other. If you're going to accept that that's Bride, you have to also accept that that matches the land, because there's a lighthouse peeping over the top corner, and that's where I put the lighthouse in. It's in exactly the right place. So if I come around the corner, you can see, oops, there's the lighthouse. All I've done is put the polygon in. It's at the correct size that it's supposed to be at. And obviously, if I get my little man and I drop him here, you can see there's the lighthouse. It's in exactly the right place. Now, my position is, this is not the cliff face at Bride. I don't think this is the cliff face at Bride, because although it matches there, the fact that it matches there as well is a conflict, because they can't do both unless this is the real scale. This is the hills at Bride, possibly, and this is where Isle of Man runs down and then runs down to nothing, and Isle of Man stops there. That will be where the point of her lighthouse is. And obviously, the triangle of horizon there would be supporting the possibility that that's where the land stops, because we see most atmospheric effect at the land, at where the water is. Well, if we've got water on that tip, it would make sense to me that that would be the point of Isle of Man. That's where Isle of Man stops. This would be the main shipping route where the boat is, and that's travelling to and from Belfast or somewhere in Ireland. And all of the land that's behind here is actually Ireland. That makes perfect sense to me, because it puts the boat in the right place. However, this land that's over here matches perfectly with the southern tip of Scotland. So that means that if you're going to accept that this bit over here is the hills at Kilbride, and you accept that you may well see this bit part of it, you've got to accept that the rest of Isle of Man's not high enough to be seen. And that's proven by Ramsey not being seen. So then you've got to say, well, what's the other land? And then if you did that as the scale, that's where Isle of Man stops. Then you've got all the land, you've got the gap between Isle of Man and then Scotland, and then you've got a boat in the middle. That makes perfect sense to me. Add a bit of atmospheric looming or atmospheric magnification as per Rob Skiba, and now it starts to make perfect sense, and the boat's in the right place. Alternatively, the boat sits in the wrong part of the map, and it's out of a shipping route. So it causes problems with scale, whichever you go with. However you perceive it, however you interpret it, it doesn't work if you go with that cliff face as the leading edge. In any event, it doesn't make it wrong. It just means that it doesn't seem to make sense with the globe, because this globe model, it isn't doing what we should be thinking when you line it all up on the left-hand side. None of it lined up. So, go on.
I was just going to see if you were near the end, because I was going to add a few other bits and bobs just to take away some of the ambiguity that's now left in maybe some of the audience's minds. But you let me know when you finish, basically.
But again, in his video, in David James's video, when I get back to it, what I would say is, if you're citing that this is the Isle of Man, and we should see the land off to the right, why is it that we're not seeing the Isle of Man? We see the Isle of Man clearly in front of us, but on your video, there's no land to the right. On Miles and Al Kay's dodgy video that they haven't released yet, and they're dishonestly withholding, they've not got it either. If it is the Isle of Man, why is it we're not seeing it? Because you need that floaty land on Isle of Man. If it is the Isle of Man, you need it in the photo. It needs to be here, but it's not. So if you're going to argue that, oh, it's just the Isle of Man, then somebody needs to produce this floaty bit on the right-hand side. Because remember, my position is that I could see further because the visibility allowed me to. I was looking through the atmosphere because it was a clear day. So right at the very end, when he concludes, he says, a short message to Riley. There is so much flat earth proof in the video of yours. I agree. Please reposition your analysis and discard claims that you see Ireland. You can't. Okay, so why is it that you're not showing me Isle of Man when you're claiming that we're seeing the Isle of Man? because I'm showing you that the stuff there that could be Isle of Man, but nobody else is able to recreate it. And look at the clarity of this guy's image. Whatever image he used, there's no floaty land. So if you can't produce the floaty land, you can't claim it's Isle of Man if you've got Isle of Man in the picture. Because don't forget, this is the closest part to us at 30 miles away. So you've got to understand that if we can see Isle of Man and you're not producing the floaty land, then it's not Isle of Man that you're not producing, is it? It can only be the land behind it because you're not getting it. So the point is this: no floaty, no Isle of Man-y. If you can reproduce the floaty, then maybe it is the Isle of Man and maybe I've got it wrong. But if you're claiming it's Isle of Man and there's no floaty land, then it isn't Isle of Man. Nath, go on, over to you.
Well, I was just going to say that everything we're talking about, or everything you've just talked about, is pretty much, and I watched this guy's video, it was me that shared it with you, it's pretty much all the right-hand side, which is the north end of the island. And the north end of the island is shrouded in ambiguity because it's shrouded in refraction, dirty air, all these things that you call it. I just said very northern, dirty air. Dirty air. But yeah, so it's the bit that everybody's going to want to try and pull apart, because it's the bit that if they do manage to take it out of the realms of obscurity, then it's the easiest to do the curve calculations on. So that being said, we have got things that we are, at least on our side, all in 100% agreement with and can evidence and are totally undebunked. And this is all at the south end of the island. Convenient for us that it's the furthest away. So if you would, Anthony, can you just bring up the images of, or I don't mind what, the composite, whatever you like. Oh, we've got a near and far. How you doing?
Good.
Good to have you here. So I was just going to say, just so I can round this out, if you can just bring up the south end of the island, so I can just show what we do have and we are certain about. And it's all much, much further.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, hold on. Now, what I would like to know, there's a few things that I'd like to actually ask you.
Do you want to turn off your watch screen?
Yes, sorry about that.
Yes.
Well, whilst he's doing that, let's just finish this. This
Go ahead.
Because this is the point that he makes. What he's done is he's lined up the top part of the south side of the island, and in doing so, he said that this land is thought to be Ireland. But what he's not realised is that the land that is shown on the video far exceeds the land that he's got. And he basically, even if we accept, I mean, look at what he's got here as well, because in this image, we don't have, in our image at the top, we do not have Snaefell Peaks in the image, but he does. So what that does is it stretches out and makes it look like it's a match, but it's not a match. What he really needs to do is, as we've got the mounds coming down, I mean, there's our tuft of trees, and he's got the tuft of trees there. So his tuft of trees, really, that needs to be stretched up the page, and then what that then does is shortens massively how much land he's actually got. So again, this is supporting the idea that this is actually Ireland, because he's not showing this the same. So when he's got it here. Sorry, I apologize. So he's got, right, okay. So he's lined it up here. So he's got the two peaks here going down to there, but all this land that goes down to the end of the line here, all this isn't on his photo. So this is the whole point. This is the stuff that when you line these things up, there is that much to the far left-hand side that he's not catching it because the visibility just was not there.
And last but not least, because I know Near and Far's just waiting to get his points in, so we'll just round this out by saying there are two lighthouses that are absolutely unequivocally in the spot they are supposed to be when you line up all the landmarks, and that is Lagness and Morgold. Morgold being the closest, similar distance to all these lowlands that everyone wants to debate about. That is behind the curve of the Earth. It's behind a wall. It's on the other side of a hill. It physically isn't there in the globe world. It's a hologram. So that's the nearest lighthouse. And then we have this, which is on screen now, which is Lagness Lighthouse. Now this is a distinguishable landmark that sits on the furthest tip of the Isle of Man. And if you check out debate number 77, where it all began, the debate started with is this land the furthest tip of the Isle of Man? In other words, all of this is this end tip, or is it Ireland? That was the starting point. So some people have come full circle. Maybe they didn't catch the beginning of the debate. But you've either got to concede, if you're on a globe, that this end land is
Can you hear
51
me?
miles
I'll let you go.
away and at exactly the same height as your observation position, because it's basically the same height land that Anthony's standing at. But we would concede that that is not the case at all, because we have a distinct landmark that lines up perfectly, looks lighthouse shaped, and marks the end of the Isle of Man, proving that this is Ireland behind and to the left, because there is no more land left on the Isle of Man. So if you want to debunk that this is the lighthouse, that is how you will essentially put us back to square one and say, well, okay, so you're claiming we are now seeing Isle of Man down to about 30 feet from 30 feet.
1 sec now.
Sorry, Near and Far. That's us done, I think. So you go ahead.
Yeah, we're done. But shout outs to David for putting time into it, because he did spend time on it. But Near and Far, what can we do for you this morning, sir?
Well, you know, I've been studying this for a few years now. And I hope I'm not feeding back on you guys. Will you let me know if I'm feeding back on you guys?
No, you're good.
Great. Okay, thank you. What I'd like to know, I watched like Under the Dome. Let me turn this down. Sorry. I watched Under the Dome. A while back, and there was, you know, so much in the beginning of that. I think that's one of the preeminent documentaries actually about this phenomenon, about the flat Earth phenomenon, right? Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. So right at the beginning, you know, I had that playing on my channel actually as somebody came in, and I'll give a shout out to Dude WTF. He came in and he actually told me about your cast, and I want to give a shout out to him and thank him for being able to actually have this conversation with you guys.
Sure.
Now, when I watched that, when I first watched that, I thought that was, you know, well, it was interesting, you know, whatnot or whatever. But there are multiple falsehoods that are right at the beginning of that. And I will tell you that one of them, right at the first of that, is that they say that the technology to prove the world was flat didn't exist until flight. And that's not true. Ferdinand Magellan actually circumnavigated the globe in 1511 to 1512. So what do you got to say about that? Is that part of the conspiracy? Is that the Illuminati, the Freemasons, or what?
You understand that circumnavigation can work on both a flat plane and a globe, right?
Yeah, but he would have to be making turns.
Yeah, sure, and he would have done
on a flat. Yeah,
you've got magnetic declination that people account for on the globe. You understand that too, right? That they do make turns.
Yeah. Well, of course I make turns when I have to make turns. But when I go straight, if I went straight across a plane and I landed at the same place, I think that the conclusion would be fairly obvious.
All right, okay. Let's go with the first thing first. You said that some guy by the name of Magellan made a circumnavigation of the Earth before flight.
Some guy?
Sure. Let's play dumb for everybody and ask who's Magellan and what evidence have you got that proves the claim to be true?
Sure. I don't.
Oh.
I have hundreds of years of actual scientific.
Sorry.
What's that?
Yo. We just have to get someone to speak before they snipe us out. Apologies. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yes,
okay, so
continue.
Yeah, so we need to prove the claim is correct. So we need that evidence, right?
Okay. Well, I mean, now I can't put anything on your screen, but I can go to Wikipedia, or I can go to any other place on the internet, or I can go to my, I don't know, high school education, and I can actually look at Ferdinand Magellan in my books and find out that that's what he did. Now, I know that you guys are probably going to say that that's part of the conspiracy, but well, I don't know. I mean, how do we square that? You know, how do we square that up?
All right. Let me share my screen, Nathan, if you will, please. I'm going to show you an example.
May I take a shot here real quick?
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. I'll be done like imminently. It's a quick one, this one.
Do your thing. Okay. Go ahead. Thanks.
So what we'll do is then, this is the best one that I can ever. Oops.
Godzilla. Not Godzilla. Okay, sorry, I'm just joking. I'm just playing with you.
No, what the point I'm making is that you can look up Godzilla on Wikipedia and you can find that he was in.
Oh, really?
29
Godzilla?
films.
Sorry, I thought you typed that. Sorry.
Yeah, I did. I mistyped as Godkiller by accident. It was an inconvenient mistake. But nonetheless,
Sure.
my point is this: you can look up Godzilla and see that he starred in 29 films. So does this mean that Godzilla's real because he starred in 29 films?
That's ridiculous. How
that's
ridiculous.
How is it different?
Well, the ridiculous point is because that the first thing they ever say about Godzilla is that he's fictitious.
Where does it say that? It says he is a monster.
Well, okay, it doesn't say that on Wikipedia, but if you look that up on another source, it will say that Godzilla is a fictitious character.
So if I said
source you cited,
fictitious character, how would you prove that he was real?
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's like saying that you actually believe in the law of perception, which is not a scientific law whatsoever.
What I'm testing is what is the evidence that you accept that story is true?
I know that's what you guys want to do, but what I'm testing is hundreds of years of time tested, my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, all right, being told this stuff.
They're all secondary
what
sources.
I would like to ask you
do you know what a secondary source is? Do you understand what a secondary source versus a primary source is?
Who is behind my great-grandfather knowing that Magellan circumnavigated the globe? Who's behind that? Godzilla hasn't been around that long.
Yeah, but equally, my father and my grandfather believed that we went to the moon.
And we did not?
No.
Can you prove we did?
No, I can't.
Hey, Pete Shea, is that real?
That's the problem. See, listen. No, listen.
Hold on. Can you say hello to Pete? How you doing, Pete?
You guys want people to argue with both hands tied behind their back.
No.
Intellectually. So you want us to argue on your plane. You want us to say, how can you prove? Well, how can you prove that the Antarctic exists? I want to ask you. How can you prove
straying off topic? So hold on. We were talking about Magellan, right? Hold on, we've got a new guest. Hi, I am a moron. How are you doing?
Have you been to the Antarctic?
I'm a moron. Do you want to speak?
You say hello?
Can I get a chance?
Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, good to have you here.
Sure.
Hi, long time listener, first time caller.
Cool, man.
Good to be.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, you just screwed me off, huh?
No.
I'll bring you back on track. Hold on, Anthony.
Okay.
So we started
What's going on today?
I would like to
started
ask
off
you
talking
how
about
you
Magellan.
can actually prove that the Antarctic.
No. We're off
parts
topic
of the ocean
immediately.
that you
So you
haven't
seem
been
to be jumping from topic
exist.
to topic, near.
Hang on, let's not
not
move
jump
too
off
far along. I'd
topic.
like to
Let's
stay
stay
on
on
the
topic. So you talked about Magellan. You referenced Wikipedia and your education and your grandparents. Now I've asked you if you understand the difference between a primary source and a secondary source. Do you understand the difference?
I've asked you the same thing.
Let's
you're
give him
now
Magellan
becoming
and let's use my
rapidly
thought experiment
useless. Rapidly.
I've asked
So
you,
if I ask you a direct
thanks,
question
sir.
and you just ask me if I know the answer to my own question, that makes you a pretty useless guest. I've got to be honest. Do you understand the difference
ridiculous.
between
That's
a
ridiculous.
primary
I'm using
source
the
of
same
information
logic
Okay.
and
you are
a
using.
secondary source? The
All right?
answer is either
You have not been
yes
to the Antarctic
or no.
You're saying that it exists. You are saying there's a wall. You have not
No,
been
we're
to the
sticking
wall.
with
You're
Magellan.
saying that the wall
No, we're not
exists.
going off Magellan.
just
We're
take a
still
step
sticking with
back real
Magellan,
quick?
the guy who brought up initially. We're not onto the ice wall yet. We're going to get this nipped in the bud. You've said we referenced Wikipedia, and Anthony's shown that that doesn't necessarily prove he existed. So I'm now going to ask you a different question. Do you have any primary source evidence for Magellan and his journey? Primary source. I don't know if you understand what that means, because you won't clarify. But if you have, can you present it?
Listen. Okay, listen. Obviously, I do not. Obviously, I do not have Magellan's personal records. I do not have access to his personal handwriting that says that actually he circumnavigated the world. Now, I do believe that if I tried hard enough, I could go to the National Archives or somewhere in Britain or somewhere and actually find those actual documents and prove that to you. But that wouldn't be good enough for you, I'm sure.
Well, hold on. I've just asked you if you
Now.
can. You've said that you can and it wouldn't be good enough. But you can't, and you haven't. That's the state of play currently. You haven't got any primary source referenceable information
question I asked you,
for this person, correct?
Is what documentation can you show me that you have been to the edge of Antarctica yourself?
I haven't. Is that acceptable answer? I haven't. I haven't, therefore I don't accept it. It may or may not exist. I don't accept that it does or does not, because I've not been there and checked for myself. You, on the other hand, will take the word of your grandfather and Wikipedia.
Nate, just check. Nate, just check.
No.
Skype. Can I just say
no, that means you're intellectually honest and we can have a conversation. I agree with you. Thank you.
All I was going to say, near and far, is that we haven't asserted that Antarctica is any part of this discussion. That was something that you pushed on us as our assertion, but we never said that.
Now, guys, let me ask you this question, okay? Would you please bring up if you could please indulge me.
Wait, I don't want to move away from circumnavigation real quick. Can we, before we move forward on that, can we stay there real quick?
Yes, definitely.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I assume you brought this proof up as your number one proof for you believing.
No, okay. Absolutely. I have other proof.
What's your number one?
Foucault's pendulum.
Why do you believe that is the truth?
Okay, I don't want to divert.
Because you can actually test Foucault's pendulum if you have a 2-story building and a probably 80-ounce plumb bob. You can actually prove, depending on where you are on the Earth, you can actually prove that the world is actually rotating.
Now, you used the word could. Would you agree that if you then didn't do what you thought it was going to do, then the results would be could not?
Okay. Here's the thing. I have not done that myself, but I have seen amateur YouTubers do that.
Yeah, and I've seen,
and if you guys were on now hold on, because you have me at an advantage. Okay? You have me at an advantage because I cannot show you anything. You can show me everything you want to show me. But if I could show you video of a person that is clearly an amateur putting a plumb bob and showing it, and showing it move differently based on the rotation of the Earth, would you guys accept it, or would you guys just say he was part of the Illuminati Freemasonic conspiracy?
Well, I feel like I opened up a can.
It's just an ever-expanding conspiracy.
I feel like I've had. I don't want to go into that route. I feel like I opened up a can of worms when I had my opportunity here. Going back to circumnavigation, obviously you think circumnavigation going east to west is very.
Why do you not want to talk about Foucault's pendulum?
I'll go there next, but let's just go one step at a time.
Go there.
Brought this one first, okay? No, you brought circumnavigation first. So why aren't you giving the same credence to circumnavigation north to south?
I haven't seen anything on it.
That's because no one's ever done it. Yet there's been millions, thousands. I don't even know. Hang on.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you this: circumnavigation east to west would be the same. Would be the same proof. I mean, if you went to Sydney and went all the way around to Sydney again, it'd be the same thing saying the Earth was a globe. I mean,
yeah, but we've already considered this and pointed out that it works on both, and now he's trying to make a new point to you. You've completely ignored it.
It'll take
Sorry,
a
near and
simple
far.
Google search for you to find out that there is no circumnavigation north to south on this globe, except for the anomalous 1 or 2 that they're trying to pull off right now.
What about the Qantas
hang on.
flight
Let me just finish my statement.
Sorry.
This is compared. This is juxtaposed to thousands of east to west circumnavigations. Why is there less than 1 or 2 anomalous north to south navigations?
I would say because the Antarctic is very, very large, and because there isn't that much. What I've seen is there isn't that much support if you crash. There's a lot more space if you. I know a pilot. I know an international pilot. All right, his name is Greg. I'm not going to give his last name, but I am friends with an international airline pilot. Okay, and he flies in the southern hemisphere. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, The problem is that if you take a flight from Sydney to Johannesburg, in your guys's model, what'll happen is that he will get there. He won't even make it in a 747. And you know this.
How do you know that we know this?
Well, okay, I could send you a video that can actually prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt that the fuel payload on a 747 in a flat Earth, because when you take an orange, right? Take an orange, flatten it out. The southern part of the orange will be way, way, way far apart from the northern part of the orange, right? So basically, you have to fly almost. I'm not going to actually make assertions here, but I'm going to say you have to fly much, much further from Sydney to Johannesburg, Africa. And they will not make it. There's a Qantas flight that does this. I need you to explain that flight without saying it's a conspiracy.
Okay, so we've seen flight videos before where they go from somewhere.
Not
in Australia.
videos. Not videos. Bookings.
Yeah, we've seen evidence on the flat Earth on the circuit where people have flown from Sydney to Santiago in Chile. It's fundamentally the same issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
A guy paid for a ticket, took the flight, and his compass on the plane showed him flying over the South Pole. He had a compass with him, and it was showing a different direction. He was traveling southeast, and it was showing that he was traveling northeast, or something.
How do I know that?
Can't remember
exactly. Small part of
what.
this anecdote. This guy is not a flat earther, as I.
How do I know that?
You're talking about.
How do I know that? I mean, I'm taking your word for it. I mean, what evidence do you have of that?
Look up the word Max Egan. Max Egan took the flight. Now, what he said was when he flew over the sea.
Max Egan is not a flat earther.
Show it on the screen right now.
Okay.
I watched the video once. The guy said all the planes were sky
You have all control over the screen. You have every bit of control over the screen and what I'm projecting on my screen right now. Show it.
You want to see Max Egan flight?
Just keep in mind, this is a person that believes in the globe who did this.
I think that's how you spell his name.
Not in a YouTube video. That's ridiculous, okay? There are people in YouTube. Hold on, guys. There are people on YouTube.
He's a pretty big guy.
Listen,
everyone knows Max Egan.
There are people on YouTube that believe that reptilian shapeshifters are inside the moon. Okay, so I'm not going to take that. Okay, I'm going to take that from a reputable source. I'm not going to take that from some bullshit YouTube video.
This is a guy that actually did the flight.
I don't give a damn. Okay,
and it's a ball earther.
You take that from Jetway. You take that from some. You take this from some pilot. You take this from some verifiable source. I don't give a damn.
First of all, we're talking about objective instruments, but what's fascinating,
I don't care about that.
What's fascinating about this story is he didn't even know that he was proving flat Earth until Jaron told him.
That's ridiculous.
Do you know what just happened?
Anybody can post anything on YouTube, and you damn well know it.
What about Wikipedia? Anybody can post anything on Wikipedia. Will you accept that? Oh, lost the entire panel. Amazing. Right, there'll be a short interlude while I bring back some of the panel on Skype.
Yo.
Hello. I didn't see.
I got sniped while I was opening that thing up.
I didn't see anybody join.
Yeah, GB Jedi joined.
Oh, I didn't see.
No, I was opening up the page at the time, got sidetracked. Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
Did everybody else get sniped?
Everybody got sniped. Obviously, it was
Right.
at the point that the globe head was making everything on globe Earth look terrible. So that's the point that everyone gets sniped. You know, it's not the point that they don't want us talking. It's they don't want the globe heads making globe Earth look terrible by debating it with us. So,
well, do you want to open up a fresh hangout and invite that guy back in? He'll still be listening.
Not really. I could do, I suppose.
Yeah, because that was a really good call. So we are still live right now, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so Nate, come on, please open up a new hangout and then invite that guy back in, whatever his name was. Because that guy was an interesting guy to talk to. He was someone new, and I'd like to see what he's got to say about stuff. Because honestly, I quite like the fact that he was getting agitated by the Max Egan flight, because he wanted to see evidence for a southern hemisphere flight. He wanted to see it on screen right now, so we did. And when I started to give him the evidence that he asked for, he didn't like it. So then my question, and I hadn't even made my point. So my question was then going to be, well, I mean, obviously we all know what the conclusion of the Max Egan flight was. It went on and on and on for a while, and I think I lost track of it towards the end. But essentially, they were unable to verify the actual path that was taken of that said flight. They didn't show that it went over. They showed it went over the South Pole, but the two compasses didn't line up, and they were unable to verify the actual position that the plane was in as it made its route. And that's mainly because there is no GPS down there to ping data to and from, or because the compass doesn't do what you would expect it to do if you're traveling on that path. So I really wanted to get some conclusion on that point. And if Ranty's out there, perhaps Ranty could join and give us a lift with the modding, because he slid in as I was looking for Max Egan.
It's going to take me a couple of minutes to do this.
Yeah, no worries. That's why I was just giving a bit of fill while you were doing it. Arwin's in chat. Arwin, do you want to join? Or are you still in a mood with me? Come on, Arwin. Cat Earth. Yeah, I read it on someone. I read it on some report someone dug up. Arwin, I am sorry that I upset you the other day. Any flat earther want to debunk Mount Rainier shadow? Google it. Yeah, it's perspective, Nick. Things that go further away get lower to the horizon. That's called the angle of convergence. The further away it goes, the more it becomes horizontal. Debunked. Nick, Pete Shea, Charlie's. Google it, Riley. It's irrelevant. Well, if it's irrelevant, why would I Google it, Nick, with no L? I thought his point about Magellan was quite interesting, though. He accepted anecdotal evidence that circumnavigation happened as per Magellan, but couldn't cite any evidence to support his position. I thought that was really quite interesting, because if somebody argues for a particular point and then gets asked to produce the evidence to support their position and then doesn't have any at all other than claims, then you have to ask what this person's role is. I mean, how many times did that guy change topic in the context of that conversation? He added about 8 topics in, and it was difficult to keep up with him and try and pin him down to a particular one so that we can get to a conclusive point and a conclusive decision based on what he wanted to address. He seemed to want to scattergun approach everything and see what stuck. And I was trying to get him to stick on anything. Shout out to the hyena. So it's difficult to keep somebody on topic when they're distracting, not distracting, but being scattergun with the points of attack. It's really hard to do that. However, I'd like him to come back in if he would, because essentially that is the kind of guy that I want to chat with. I want to talk to somebody like that, because that's a huge mountain of evidence that you've got to produce. Making assertions without any evidence is the rhetoric that got us in this nonsense in the first place. But what we can do is we can produce evidence that goes against the idea that we live on a ball, and we can document it, and we can discuss it, and we can ask you guys how to explain it based on sphericity. And you can't. We don't see in bent lines. we see in straight lines. If we see something, it's because it's there. It's not because of non-standard refraction. All that nonsense. Al K, when are you going to bring your video up, Al? You haven't produced your evidence. You know, the floaty land, Al? You haven't produced it. And we'd really like to see it. And I'm calling you a liar, Al, because you're lying by omission. You're failing to produce evidence that's contrary to your views and opinion. That makes you dishonest, Al. That also makes Miles the liar Davis dishonest. Because if you have evidence contrary to your views or opinion or belief, and you do not produce it when requested to do so, because let's be honest, everybody knew you were going, and everybody was excited because they all thought that you were going to come back and debunk me, and you didn't. It's not acceptable that you hold on to evidence that doesn't support your position.
Hi, Owen. How you doing?
Doing good.
Morning, Arwin.
Can you jump back in on the Hangout just because it makes my life a lot easier?
Sure.
Right.
Should be, with a little bit of luck, back up and running. How are you, Aaron, anyway? You good?
Yeah, doing good. I just got back from church, basically, and it was nice to be there again. And it's really nice weather, nice and sunny. Like the winter sun is very bright. I like it like that. Shines directly in the pineal gland. It's nice.
Okay, so I'm paying attention now.
I'll put the link back in the public chat, so if you want to join the show, simply click the link in the info box below the video. Be sure to mute your watch page before you do.
So does that mean I'll have to pop out my chat, or will it be the same chat?
The show's running exactly as it is. I just need to do a couple of things. It's complicated, but yeah, I'm nearly finished. I'm about 30 to 60 seconds away from having the link published to the chat.
Okay, so Al K, we're waiting for you to produce your evidence, because we know you have evidence, Al, and we know that it goes against your views and beliefs. We know that it supports my position, and we're wondering why you haven't released it. It's only a 10-second clip. Just show us what you got. It's not that difficult. Pete, if you want to join, Pete, you'll be able to join back in now, I think.
So, yeah, I kind of missed what's been happening before I just joined. So what's been going on?
Just reminding Al K that he's being dishonest by withholding evidence that's contrary to his opinions, views, and beliefs.
Okay.
We did have an American-sounding guy that was scattergunning. So if he's out there listening, please join. Oh yeah, Aaron Moorfield. Al K has a great video, evidence of a bent stick. It's absolutely amazing. I did laugh when I watched that. It was like Jeremy's video about the Girl Guides map. That was equally as brilliant. Al K, come on, man, join the panel. Yeah, come on, Al K, join the panel. Let's see what you've got to say. I want to know why you haven't released a 10-second clip, knowing that it goes against your position and it supports mine. Why have you not done it?
So, yeah, I've been quite surprised to still come across like new Glober videos that are basically all declaring you're completely wrong about the Isle of Man and it's the lies of man and blah. I'm quite surprised they're holding on to that.
Well, I've only seen one, and we gave it a full documentation right at the start of the show, and it was a really good video. Sleeping Warrior, why are you presupposing that Al K and Miles haven't got footage of the evidence? You claim to know about that which you haven't seen. What a moron. Well, given that their MO was that they were specifically going up to try and debunk me, Paul Voigt. When they got there, they could not see what I could see. They spent all day there and didn't get it. Now, if it is the Isle of Man, then you would expect... Oh, hang on. Yeah, there we go. If it is the Isle of Man, you would expect them to produce that straight away because the rest of the Isle of Man was present. So I know that by failing to produce the evidence, they've either not got Isle of Man or they've got something that they don't want us to see. Because otherwise, they were going up there to debunk me, Paul. Do you understand what that means, Paul? They were going to prove me wrong, and they've actually failed to prove me wrong, like Uri's failure. So Al's failure, Miles the Liar Davis's failure, are proving and verifying my claim. I was seeing floating land that I thought was island because it was difficult for me to get. That's why, Paul. I know you don't understand logic and reason, but that's the answer.
And it's even worse. I understand that some of these globers have actually taken footage of their own, and they're now not sharing it, which is technically and quite literally withholding evidence.
Yeah.
For nefarious purposes. Because
they don't
otherwise they would have just put it out there and then try to figure out how it would be a globe. But they didn't. So that means that they know it's not in their advantage. So they're withholding evidence.
Again,
could be considered scientific fraud.
I agree completely. Sleeping Warrior, again, you are presupposing why they have or haven't seen. You moron. You don't know what footage they have. Yeah, I do, Paul. I'm calling them on it. I have been for weeks. I've called Miles the Liar Davis and Al Kay to produce that evidence because it's essential that we see it. We know that they went there all day and they got nothing. Why would that be if it was the Isle of Man? Doesn't make any logical sense. Whether it be ball or flat, it makes no logical sense. If it was there, they'd have got it. The point is, they didn't get it, and they don't want to tell us that they didn't get it. Sniper on deck. Goodbye.
Whoops.
No, we're good. So, Gem Panda, nice to see you. Riley hasn't released a video of this his shot in October.
So I caught a bit of Gem Panda yesterday, chatting with Spurs Chemo and Curvature and all the guys who claim to be on a boycott but can't help themselves but talk about this. And he just denied that the lighthouse, Lagness Lighthouse, is in existence, didn't debunk it in any way, and just said it's not Ireland. And he seems to be forgetting that the beginning part of the debate was whether or not we're seeing a, 35-foot high outcrop or island. In other words, it doesn't matter from the start which one you want to pick, Gem. They're both rock-solid flat Earth proofs. However, we've got a lighthouse in between the End Peninsula and Ireland that you failed to discuss with Chemo. So if you want to ignore these things with Spurs and just tell him it isn't Ireland, feel free to tell us what it is and provide some evidence, like Lagness Lighthouse, that evidence we used to prove it's Ireland. You know, you've got to provide something different to prove that it isn't. Something conclusive, like we've presented. How you doing, Sniper on deck? Joining again, keen to get us all sniped.
Being very
talk
forward.
about Ireland,
I don't
145 miles maybe? Who knows?
Yeah, by the way, I have a pretty well worked out psychological theory about what's happening with these globers. If I get the chance. Okay. The Sniper is very enthusiastic.
So Paul says, Paul Voigt, the non-standard physicist, he says that where's that other comment?
So can I do my thing or have something really pressuring to share right now? Anthony, you're muted, by the way. Anthony?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you were muted.
So Sniper's here again. Clearly wants to.
Nah, he's the Sniper is auto-muting people. So, but yeah, I kind of wanted to share my theory. I've been doing that in chat, but
go ahead.
I'm starting to see a pattern with these globers and their so-called boycott, and I think that what all these globers are basically suffering from is a form of masochism. Literally, it's not even a joke. It's literally masochism, where we are basically tearing down their dreams, which they love so much, and this hurts them. Know that when you suffer through physical or mental pain, that there is an endorphin rush right after that to compensate for the experience. So I think they're basically like heroin addicts being addicted to the rush of daily pain, and that's what making them come back every time.
Yeah, it is painful.
Yeah, it is painful, but it's also addictive because of the physical endorphin
Sniper.
reaction that they get every time they become addicted to our pain. So it's literally masochism.
Good to have you,
It is
Jibby.
the same reason why like real serious masochists
Hey, Jibby Jedi. How
like
you
to be treated rotten because they get the endorphin rush from it. So yeah, Globers are suffering from literal masochism.
Ugh, god damn it.
I don't know how he's able
Anyway,
to.
I got my point out, and it was pretty funny in a way, tragic as well. But
Best they can do is join and mute because they haven't got a quick enough mouse to snipe us now. Now that we're all alert. Fun stuff. So yeah. Hi, Sniper. How you doing? You having
he
fun?
doesn't like me very much. I think
yeah.
I touched him in a painful spot.
So yeah, you've got to debunk Lagness Lighthouse. You can't just say it's not Ireland when we've picked out a landmark and matched it with all of the land, and all of the things along that side all beautifully line up and can be distinguished nice and close up on Google Earth, where you can actually get details of the landscape. So far, all we've had from the globe side is like 15 miles off the coast matching the peaks up. That's as good as it gets. And I've already pointed out, and Ranty's already pointed out, that it messes with the parallax. So, unfortunately, guys, you're going to have to do a lot better. Basically, you're going to have to do as good as Chris and Ranty. You know, they're the brains behind this operation. Basically, they've done an exceptionally good job of showing you what's what and where it is, lining it up beautifully, and demonstrating that we have got it correct. So if you want to claim we haven't, you've got to prove that we haven't. And as for saying...
So what I'll say is, while Nathan's been muted,
I was just going to say, as
chat,
they've been telling us that the onus of proof is on us to prove it, and we have. You know, it's like, well, the onus of proof is on them. They're saying debunk it. It's like, no, we've now concluded. We've provided our evidence. We've showed you what's what and where it is. Lagness Lighthouse is there. We've shown it you, and it distinguishes the end of the Isle of Man from Ireland. Now, if you want to debunk that, let's see what you got. So far, not so good. 30 shows on, you got nothing. All you're arguing about is the lowlands. So you've literally got nothing. Those are the beautiful blondes in the room that need to be, you know, approached. You need to approach those beautiful blondes. And they're called Lagness and Morgold. Those are your blondes. Those are the girls. Not the girls in the shadows. No. That would be the north end of the island. You know, the bits that are all covered in refraction because you're so used to arguing those bits. Whereas we've got something much better now. Much better in the form of Lagness and Morgold. Those are the things you need to look at, guys. That's what you need to debunk. That's what we're going to start polishing. Yes, at the beginning of the show, Anthony's debunking the debunkers in terms of the North End, because that's all they're going to ever want to focus on. But for every single time that Anthony comes on and starts addressing people who have yet again tried to go for the easy stuff at the North End of the island, we're going to point out the difficult stuff. Lagness and Morgold. That's what we'll point out to you every time, and I'll highlight it for every time the distractors try and bring us back over to the North End. Look at the south. There are clear things. The image is much crisper. You can see everything. And that includes Lagness Lighthouse, distinguishing the Isle of Man from Ireland, and Morgold Lighthouse, the closest observable landmark, which is behind a wall of earth curve in your model, and yet we see it clearly.
And of course, so is the other land that's on the right-hand side, that gaping cliff. That's also behind the curve of the earth, yet that's claimed to be the Isle of Man. Anyway, Ranty said that Miles has showed 5 seconds of the Isle of Man. Ranty's deduced that they filmed Douglas and Beyond, and that's why they won't release the video. I quite agree. I think they've probably done Douglas and Beyond, and they won't release it. But I also contest that they've. Sorry, I also contest that they've failed to get the floaty
Sorry,
land.
it's huge. Oh, we've got another one. How are you doing, Sean G? You might be real. You say hello.
Quickly, Sean.
Got a couple of seconds. Too late. Ah, too late. He's sniped the whole panel before I had a chance to get an introduction.
Panda, nice to see you. Riley hasn't released a video of this his shot in October. So I caught a bit of Gem Panda.
Yes. Anyway, see if we can bring Anthony back in on Skype along with a few other people.
Fuck, he was quick.
Yeah, he was very fast, wasn't he?
The question they've got to ask themselves now is, do they want an echo chamber or do they want an open chat? Because if you're going to keep destroying it, yeah, sure, we can manage it and moderate it. But does it mean that we have to sacrifice the echo chamber? Do we have to create an echo chamber so that we can allow this to continue? Or are you going to carry on doing what you're doing? I don't mind. Nathan doesn't mind. Jeremy's asking for an echo chamber, please. Oh, right, so now Jeremy wants the echo chamber.
Amazing.
Isn't it funny? Because all the ballers were complaining that we were an echo chamber, but now they want one.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? They want an echo chamber when they're losing. That's the bottom line.
That's it. They want an echo chamber when they're losing. Like football teams. They only sing when they're winning. Sing when they're winning.
Yeah, they're losing badly, and it's just
they're losing.
Every time somebody joins from the Globe side, they make the case, and it makes matters worse every single time. So now they're in their own little echo chamber on Discord, discussing it amongst themselves with about 4 people watching. More people on the panel than in the audience. And they'd rather shut us down. So the guys with the open door are the guys that they want to shut up.
Do you want to add Arwin back to that? Chat?
Yeah, just add him back on this call.
He's not in the group though, isn't he?
Doesn't matter, just add him to this group.
Okay, add people to this call.
Yeah, this is how the show is today. You know, it's one of those. I'm going to continue running daily shows. At the moment, I'm sat playing with my kid for the majority of the show, and it's relatively easy to keep going unless there's something like someone snipes everyone out. Then I've got to concentrate for 2 or 3 minutes. But other than that, this is today's show. It demonstrates how much they don't want us talking. That's all it demonstrates.
Yeah. And I just want to echo Mark Taylor's words. It's been weeks since you've done the big reveal and nothing's changed a thing. I agree. Nothing's changed. We're still stood here, and there's no evidence against it being anything other than what it appears to be. So there we go, Jem. John Watson, he lied. End of argument. Jem, whatever you think that the lie was to do with the observer height, you need an awful lot of observer height. Whether it was a lie or not kind of becomes irrelevant, because if it was a lie and the observer height was 5 feet difference one way or the other, it doesn't make much difference, Jem.
Yeah, Spurs had him on the ropes yesterday. Oh, we've got a guest in. How you doing, guest? Let's see if we can hear you. Hello there, how you doing? Can you hear us, Jason?
Hello?
Hello. See how long you last, my friend.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh. How's it going today?
All right. Same old, if I'm honest. He's already been ejected. See, people don't want us to talk to Jason. They don't want us to talk to anybody. Boycott's going well. 134, new peak, live viewers. Excellent. Excellent boycott. Long may it continue. Hit the super chat. How you doing, Sniper on deck? There's no one here to snipe, my friend. Did you not realise that? It's jumped in, had a look around and gone, oh, there's no one here.
See if we can get Scott Beach into the call. Should we add him? No, possibly not. Is Arwin not coming back in?
Is he on this call?
I've added him. He hasn't come back in yet, though.
Maybe he'll rejoin.
What's Jem said there? Yes, I heard what you said. I was laughing at it. Right, so Jem Panda thinks that because I, quote, lied, he thinks that then therefore means that they can dismiss the whole of the video footage on the basis that I lied. Now, Jem doesn't understand that the word lie means the intention to deceive must be it has to be there. It's part of the requirement of the word lie. Now, there was no intention to deceive because I didn't realise I'd caught anything. I just did it for my own purposes. However, when Ranty checked over it, he said it might be the case that you see Ireland here, and I agreed it was, hence the video.
Hey, guys! All right, I'm back.
It's such a shame, right? The guy that joined, if that's the guy that was there before, or it sounded like he was, If you want to add me to Skype, you can join in on the Skype call. I'll put my Skype thing in the public chat.
Got Jose. How you doing, Jose? Hello. Sniped out by one stop.
All right, so there's the guy that just joined. I've just put my email address. If you want to add yourself to my Skype, and we'll bring you back in, and we can carry on the chat. We've got a couple of basically rejects of society is the best way to describe them, that are trying to disrupt, and they are doing a minor bit of disruption, but you're on the receiving end of it. So if you add me to Skype, and then I'll join you to this call, we'll be able to speak uninterrupted and freely. If you don't have Skype, then the best thing we can do at the minute is, they caught me off guard. I was snoozing, so they've been able to disrupt a little bit. So, and it's partly because Ranty wasn't on duty either, so I'm blaming Ranty. So anyway, yeah. So Jeremy's point is that there was a lie. Now, whether there was a lie or not is kind of irrelevant.
You gone? Still there, Anthony?
Nathan, I've got this geezer on. Can I add him to this call?
No. What I'm wanting to do is drop from this call, call me back, or if I drop this call, I'll call you back and then add those two people to that group rather than this group.
Okay.
Fun show today.
Okay, so that deals with this call. So add him to this call, yeah?
Yeah, and if you can add Arwin as well, he was trying to get it back in touch. He was on that group, but I don't know if he realised it had been ringing and he just needed to add to call. But either way, if you can add Arwin as well, that'd be great.
Where is he? I've just added the guy. Right, he's there, but he's trying to recall me, but I don't want him to recall me. Just wait a sec, dude. Right, I'm trying to add him to this particular call. So, add people to this call, and he should be in the list as Sneaky Pete, which is a dodgy name in this first place. Sneaky Pete. There he is. Right, that should be Sneaky. Are you there? Sneaky Pete, are you there? Nathan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Looks like he's just about to pick up, and there he is. How you doing, Sneaky Pete?
How's it going, guys?
Good to have you.
Going good, man. Sorry for the disruption.
No problem.
So where were we? You were telling us about Magellan. Oh no, we were talking about the flight. We were talking about the flights in the southern hemisphere, yeah?
Yes, actually, we're talking about the quantum. Right. And guys, come on, man. I want to have a respectable conversation.
Sure, Nathan. Listen, I've got to.
Now, hold on. Now, just please let me ask you a few questions that are not completely on the subject. Okay.
Well, I've got to step out, Nathan. Nathan, you're gonna have to cover. Nathan, you have to cover for me, mate, because I've literally got to leave now. So just disconnect the call when you finished, and we're good.
Yeah, you can still drop.
Is somebody still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Where are you from? Country. I'm not asking your address, okay?
Sorry, what do you want to know? Where I'm from? England.
England. Okay, great. Okay. I want to ask you something. Okay. What I've been saying in my video before to some of my viewers, is that this is dangerous. And the reason why is I'm from the United States, okay? Now in our country, we just elected Mr. Donald Trump. And you guys just elected to do the Brexit thing.
Yo.
Do you agree with the Brexit thing? And how do you feel about Trump and the Brexit thing?
Couldn't care less.
What does that have to do with this?
I'm going to tie this in just a second, okay?
No. What does this have to do with anything?
So you won't answer the question.
No, we're gonna not troll bait you. So
okay, I'm not trolling you.
Well, you're asking like one of the most. You're asking a question about one of the most loaded subjects in the entire world.
Well, let me unpack it then. Okay, the bottom line is that Donald Trump in this country got elected because of fake news. He got elected because of things that were not true that he was able to make people believe. All right? When you are able to make people believe things that are not true, you can rule the entire earth. And that is the truth.
So you watch CNN every day?
I watch
because they're all true. Everything is true.
I watch Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN, and you have no idea.
Congratulations. People have known that they are like one of the worst liars in the world for over 2 decades. What I'm trying to say.
Pathetic. Okay, guys. I don't want to hurl personal insults here.
You watch Fox News. Okay? You're actually proudly admitting that you watch Fox News.
I said that I watched all of them.
Yeah, sure you do.
You don't think I do? I mean, come on. I mean, really. I mean,
defending the globe, so there must be some level of this truth.
Guys, please hear me out, please. And I want to talk to you sincerely. Please hear me out. Honestly, I was a never Trumper. I did not want to vote for Donald Trump. And in actuality, I did not. I voted for a third-party candidate because I knew that neither candidate was telling the truth. I knew that neither candidate was good for this country.
Yeah. So where's this going and how does this relate to the shape of the earth?
Where this is going
is that where's your story going? How does this relate to the subject?
Here is where my story is going. The level of disinformation on the internet. All right. Breitbart News is a wing of Donald Trump. Infowars.com is a wing of Donald Trump. Michael Savage is a wing of Donald Trump. These are all the alt-right. Okay.
What the hell, man?
Okay.
Donald Trump is.
How
long do you even think he's been involved with politics? What kind of an idiot would suggest something like that? You are totally paranoid schizophrenic.
That's ridiculous.
If you think that these news networks are built for him, what the hell, man?
Listen.
What the hell?
Okay.
You conspiracy theorist lunatic.
That is ridiculous, okay? I am
conspiracy theorist lunatic.
You know that I'm talking against conspiracy theorists, right?
I know you're talking out of your ass. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard anyone
What I'm
say.
saying,
I've heard social justice.
That disinformation.
Yeah, you're full of it.
World, okay?
You're full of it, literally.
So you're just going to insult me. I mean,
there's not much left.
I'm actually recording you right now. I mean, you're just going to hurl insults my way.
It doesn't have anything to do with flat Earth or the globe. It's just BS distraction.
So I'm going to go ahead and take a census.
Political smear campaign.
I'm going to take a census on disinformation and flat Earth and see if it has anything and see if there's any correlation against one versus the other. Now, I will talk on your plane. Go ahead. You have the floor.
No, I'm still waiting for you to actually make a point.
This
Side being a giant distractor.
Listen, what I'm trying to say.
Subject.
What
Nonsense.
What I am trying to say is that the level of disinformation on the internet, is more powerful than people can possibly imagine.
They can imagine quite a bit. You're part of it right now.
That's ridiculous, okay?
No.
Telling
People know this. People know that people like you are actually coming forward. Yeah, I have something really important to share with you. There's so much misinformation.
Share it.
People know that people like you are the misinformation.
Then I will listen. I will give you the floor, my friend.
No, I'm still waiting for you to actually make a point.
I give you the floor.
I don't need the floor. I already made a lot of points over the years in my channel, in the Flat Earth debates. I don't need to make a point. I'm still waiting for you to...
Okay, so when I got cut off, I said for you to explain Foucault's pendulum, which is a fixture in any planetarium around the United States and around the world that proves the world is rotating.
Yeah, sure it does.
So go ahead and let me know about that, and I'll throw up a video really quick.
Pendulum. You know how to spell that? I'll write it down for you in chat.
Oh, in the chat?
Yep.
I mean, can you please like throw a video up or something? Can you prove it somehow?
That's how you really spell it.
Are you kidding me? I mean, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Fox caught.
No.
So you're
called.
Are you kidding me? So you're just gonna. So you literally are just gonna say it's
exactly
Foucault's pendulum.
Yeah. Foucault pendulum.
Hold on.
It's a cult of fakeness.
Well, dude, you can. Okay,
funny, isn't it? It's funny how they manage to actually hide these meanings in the words right in front of your face. They're really good at that. They've been trained to do that for hundreds of years. Ingrained in our scientific knowledge.
Let's look this up.
We teach this stuff in plain sight.
Let's look this up real quick. Let me put this up on my deal here real quick. Let me put this up real quick. Because I don't need to see your chat anymore, okay? So, are you there? Or did you disconnect me again?
You talking to me?
Okay, great. Okay, so Foucault's pendulum took place in 1851. Okay, that's well before the space flights happened and all that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's been planned out for a long time, ever since the Renaissance.
Let me know why.
Plans were all there.
Hold on, let me know why. I want to learn.
You want to know why? Why they've done this? Why they've created this massive conspiracy?
Who was the first person to inculcate this massive conspiracy?
Well, it all depends on how much you believe the official version of the faraway history, but it could have been the Romans. And if they didn't exist, which there is a chance to, then it's probably the Empire of England that started it. That's why you still have these paintings of them holding a globe.
Okay. Yeah. Now, why did they do it?
Why? What do you think? It's mind control. It's a giant income. NASA has the biggest income in human history. Why do you think?
But, I mean, why, couldn't they just say that basically there was demons out in outer space and you had to pay indulgences, especially back in those days, to the demons, and they get more
because
money
it doesn't
than that,
work.
I mean,
because
people
that doesn't
pay plenty
work
of indulgences in the Catholic Church.
No,
so why didn't they just say that?
Because they can't give recognition to demons. They can't give recognition to God. They can't give recognition to demons. So they have to completely remove that out of the way. Say it doesn't exist. It's all science. It's all space. Demons, God, afterlife, heaven and hell doesn't exist. That's why. They couldn't involve demons because that would have basically forced people to
Wait a
return
minute.
back to the old system. They had to completely remove it. Completely remove it. And
Okay,
they
I
had-
understand that. I understand that.
that's
Hold on.
atheism. That's
But wait a
atheism.
minute. But wait a minute, though. Why would they spend all this money on this gigantic space program when
Because
they
they
just
don't.
probably could have
They
scared
don't
people
spend it on that. Are
when
you
they
dumb? They don't
listen?
spend that money on it. It's faked. Faking things is a lot cheaper than actually doing it.
But when they could have just got the
money
same
on other
money.
stuff.
Okay.
They spend the
Well,
money
let's-
on military industrial
on.
projects.
Oh, hold on, buddy. Okay. At least the footage we have was faked, right? And that cost money, right?
It's a minute amount compared to the total income of NASA.
But why didn't they
Not
just
even
tell
1%.
people that they had to pay the galactic overlords money? They would have just paid the fucking money, man.
Don't swear, please. Try not to swear.
They paid.
Excuse me.
They did pay the money. The public paid the tax dollars. They paid, and
But they would have paid the tax dollars anyway.
They used all that money to put into secret projects in the military-industrial complex that were not out in the open. That
They would have
didn't
just
have
paid
to
money.
account for because it didn't exist.
An ancient mind, you know who what's his name? Martin Luther was, right? Do you know who Martin Luther was?
What's your point?
My point is that he's the one that exposed the Catholic Church for indulgences, all right? And what I'm trying to say is that at that point in time, if the conspiracy went back that far, you could have just convinced people that they had to pay the demonic overlords in outer space money in tax dollars, which is the same as NASA, and you wouldn't have to actually...
You can't migrate entire mindsets that easily.
That's
such little steps. You have to
But that's
completely
ridiculous.
overhaul
Now-
so that
now
the
let's
people
talk about something
get
else.
the previous mindset. Psychology doesn't work that gradual. They had to completely.
Hold on. Did it not
inside
work?
They
Did
had
it
to
not work that
completely flip it
gradual?
inside out. Otherwise, it wouldn't.
It
have
already
worked.
worked that gradual, man. Everybody still believes the Pope. Every Catholic still believes the Pope is like God. Are you kidding?
No. Are you serious? The entire world of Christianity admits that it's a
I'm talking
religion.
about
They
Catholics,
believe the
okay?
Bible. They
The
don't
only
say
Catholics-
it's true. They don't say it's true. They say we believe this. We believe in Christ. That's already a weakening of
because of
religion.
the Ren-
Basically, become
that's
a
because of the
folklore
Renaissance,
instead of a
which
religion.
actually
The
began
globe
with
is the real
Copernicus.
religion because people say it's real.
That's because of the
real
Renaissance,
religion.
which began with Copernicus. The Catholic Church
That
was
is
against.
the picture
The Catholic
of
Church
reality.
was against
That
your
is real.
theories. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Catholic Church was against your theories. The Renaissance was the only thing that actually brought humanity and the Enlightenment, which actually brought them to what you're talking about.
That's hilarious, man. But it's actually the Catholic
you could
Church
sit and
and the
laugh at
Vatican
everything I
that
say, but that's
invented
ridiculous.
the freaking globe system. They're the ones. They're the Jesuits. We've
I
been
know,
talking about the Jesuits.
but the
They
people
are the ones that actually
Okay,
made it.
so
the
you
way
were
it
just
is
saying
now.
a minute ago. You were just saying a minute ago, my friend.
They integrated
that
it.
The
They
Catholic.
are the ones that
you were just
actually
saying
fixed
hold
it
on.
in everything.
Hold on.
That fixed it in education, all that. That's the Jesuits' job. They're the ones that deleted the previous.
So you've gone to the Jesuits now, but I will ask you to let me know. The current Pope is a Jesuit. That is
Yeah.
correct.
Guess what? Guess what he's doing? He's actually tearing away the rest of the belief. He's basically saying, "Yeah, we have to believe in aliens now. We have to be okay with people being trans and everything. All that. That's what he's
If you would
doing.
go and
Because
look
that's
at
what
my
Jesuits
channel,
do.
I do
That's
not
what
believe
they
in
do.
aliens.
Don't get it, do you? It's very tough on you, I know, but sorry, that's what it is.
You can't do it, can you?
Can do what? Make you
Okay.
understand how it really works?
What
Because
I
you just
did,
can't let it in your head?
listen, this is awesome. What
It
I
is.
did was I talked about the Catholic Church,
Mhm.
and then you said, well, the Catholic Church, yeah, the Catholic Church, you know, they were right. And then when I said, well, no, the Enlightenment was actually with Martin.
Yeah, they fought the outside. Look, the Catholic Church is very big. You have the Vatican, you have the open religion, and you have the hidden religion inside of the Vatican. It's all a giant system. And they keep control. And they kept control by deciding, okay, the old Christianity system is no longer working. There's going to be technology coming in the future that will make it completely impossible to uphold this system. So we're going to transit into atheism, and we're going to fight our own Catholicism, and then be part of the other side to replace it with the new system that eventually we will end up controlling. That's controlled opposition. They invented it. Bye.
So we have approximately 25 minutes left on this broadcast. The chat is still open to join. The link is still in the info box if you did want to join the hangout. How long you will survive in there before getting sniped out is anybody's guess, but you are free to join. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it is live. So either that guy had a rubbish connection and dropped, or he just got sick of talking to you, Arwin, one or the other.
Probably both.
Probably both, yes.
But it was good to actually share the details on this. And hilarious that he actually tried to find flaws in this line of reasoning, which I'm pretty damn sure is exactly like it is.
Got Bruce in
That's
the chat.
how
How you doing, Bruce? Can you hear us?
Yes, thanks for getting me back in.
Cool. Yeah, I started a new hangout, so if someone joins, I'll try and keep the snipers off your back. We shall see how well I get on.
So did we lose the gentleman who was talking? That was really good.
Yeah, he dropped on Skype. He either got a bad connection. He was dropping in and out occasionally, so maybe we'll hope it's his connection as opposed to frustration with Arwin.
Yeah,
These historical anecdotes that we hold on to and not really kind of use critical analysis on are hilarious. Galileo being the best, where he's supposed to be this heretic, you know, defending the globe, and the church is so mad at him that they give him house arrest. They're murdering heretics all around the world for less, but they're giving this guy house arrest for defending the globe. That is called a false flag, my friends. And one more filler, every astronomical seat to this day, but was made a purpose in the 1700s, Jesuits made sure that they were in every kingdom holding that astronomical seat, which is why so many of our telescopes are still monitored by Jesuits.
Thank you. That is indeed true. That is, that adds to my argument. Thank you. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is the most elaborate, crazy but true conspiracy the world has ever known. It is the most giant psychological operation that encompasses the entire Western world and even beyond. And it's amazing that they actually managed to do it and do it that well for so long.
If it's true, what you deduce from that
You're about to get sniped. Sorry, Bruce.
We're about to get sniped, yeah.
I think so. Email me at my screen name, so it's Nathan Oakley 1980 at AOL.com. Just drop me an email and I'll add you on Skype.
So,
yeah, continue.
No, you've just been muted, actually. You didn't get sniped. You've been muted, Bruce.
Sorry, my fault.
Yeah, unmute yourself.
If this is true, the reaches of this deductively are just amazing, because what you have to gather at that point is that really there are no factions in the world as far as governments go. Because we know the U.S. and the Russians are hitching us a ride to space right now with all our secret technology and whatnot. We don't even have our own shuttle up there. So the small amount of people that have been to space are in on this together. And anyone that's in that treaty, which is a lot of faction countries, in the longest standing, biggest treaty in the world, the Antarctic Treaty, there's a lot of warring countries in that treaty that agree on what's going on here. So that means these factions are made up.
But that's not even that hard, because they also worked like this during medieval times, because back then you got the royalty, you got the nobility. The nobility would be like ruling countries and using those countries to war against each other, but they would still just meet and make deals. And that's what NASA and the space agency now do. Countries may still have war, economic, and maybe even military, but they still have the deal as a cult nobility. See how that works?
Yes.
And I want to add another argument, which is even more amazing when you really think about it, and that is that during the early Renaissance, it's pretty sure that the world was not that connected, that Europe was kind of separate. Then there had been more exploration expeditions to seek out other countries, which were basically, ruled by tribe-like peoples, probably, maybe smaller empires like Incas or whatever. But they already preemptively sent out Jesuits to destroy information, so that much later, when the world would become connected, that information was already lost, so people would not catch on the entire conspiracy as quickly. It is mind-blowing that they really planned it out that extremely far.
Yeah, and everyone really points to JFK, for example, as someone that, is this triumphant fighter against secret societies. And they always point to that ridiculous speech where, if you really break apart that speech, he's talking to the press about the Russians. And he's saying, just like Trump is right now, hey, quit leaking stuff to the Russians and, get on my board and keep some secrets for a change, because we have to fight a big enemy. But the point is if you think about it, JFK is at the heart of this huge conspiracy. He is the beginning of the military-industrial complex. He went to a Fabian school, the England School of Economics. That is the chief Fabian school.
It is a complicated scenario. It's not that obvious what that really was. It's I still get a headache sometimes about from that.
Let me give you a real headache. We all see these pictures of Walt Disney and Van Braun starting NASA. But does anyone have a really good narrative of how these two characters got together?
Well, they were friends, basically, as World War II ended.
Right. How did they
America
become friends?
secretly
how did
assimilated
these two people get involved
German
with
scientists, and then the German scientists became part of America and the military-industrial complex in America, and they founded NASA.
Specifically,
the media
Walt
system
Disney
were
and
a
Van
big
Braun. How
part
did
of the
these
startup.
two people come together?
Not surprised. Sorry?
I don't know the answer to your question. I don't know how those two characters came to be together. It makes no sense, but yeah, you do.
Let me tell you, and then it all ties together. Okay, there's a lot of evidence showing that Adolf Hitler was being played by the same person as Walt Disney. Both of them being played by the supposed dead son of Roosevelt, named Kermit Roosevelt, who died at the age of 26, supposedly in a plane crash. Mm-hmm. If Hitler is indeed Walt Disney, does it not make sense that these guys are best friends as they come to America?
Well, are you saying that Walt Disney is Hitler?
I can lay out a lot of evidence from here, but just think about how much that ties together.
Okay, that does give me a headache.
Suddenly, if he is, the evidence aside, if he is, suddenly his relationship with Van Braun makes so much sense.
Well, it is kind of known that Disney was kind of a racist, like more than usual, and all that stuff. But I think to actually say that he's literally Hitler is one step too far. But I'm absolutely not surprised that they were friends. You have to remember that the Nazi Empire, even in the early days, was partially founded upon media power. America started this up with Disney and Hollywood. But Germany had their own system for it. And it was a very important, intricate part of the mind control system was the media. So it's not surprising that these big gentlemen, these media powers, would, well, just meet behind doors, just like the Bilderberg Group now has people all over the world, even of opposing countries, meet behind closed doors. So I'm not surprised if, Von Braun just met Walt Disney during some of these meetings and they became friends
But what
because
was
they just
Walt
happened to
Disney's
share certain
motivation to be
opinions.
excited about aeronautical? Understand Walt Disney's role in this whole thing. Do you know how we know about nuclear fusion being the sun? The only way we know it as a public is because they had Walt Disney commissioned to do a little animation on it in 1952, I believe. And then suddenly the world accepted that the sun was fusion.
Amazing. Yeah.
There's no reason
they
for
really
Disney to
did
be interested
those
in
things.
aeronautical
Those assumptions
sciences.
went very gradual, didn't they? One step at a time. It just sneaked in there. All that detail.
There's a YouTube channel called Dallas Goldbug. If anyone's interested in this, he lays out so much evidence for this. You go look at Gables and Roy Disney. Gables, all of you know who Gables is. They are the same person. Roy Disney, yeah, exactly, is Roy Disney, Walt Disney's brother. Yeah. Okay, you look at the wife of Walt Disney and the wife of Hitler. What's her name? They're
Eva
exactly
von
the same.
Braun? Was it? What's the name?
Yeah,
again?
go look at the wife of Walt Disney and go look at the wife of Hitler.
Huh. That's crazy, man.
Go look at Gables. Go look at Gables and Roy Disney. Project Paperclip.
What about
comes
the
into
room?
full light.
Okay, you obviously know pretty elaborate details of this era and these people. What do you think about the more recent theories that Hitler actually after or during the World War end scene basically migrated in secret to South America, with the photographs being taken of him there and these places where he's been, people testifying to that? What do you think about that?
I think that's the disinfo. I think the real truth is he was Walt Disney. If you look at Walt Disney's home and you look at an aerial shot of his home in Hollywood, they inverted it and that's the home they use as the bunker for where they say Hitler committed suicide.
I have to say that is pretty far out there, man, but who knows? The world is crazy enough that you just might be right. Who knows? It's the first time I've heard of this theory.
At least it was flat Earth related in terms of the sun and its nuclear fusion. So yeah, brilliant.
Hey, what's up?
Hello again.
Hello. What time is it where you guys are at?
2 o'clock.
I'm not trying to be crazy right now. What time is it?
2 p.m. here in England.
Oh, really? Shit, man. I'm like 7 a.m.
No swearing.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Am I on your guys' channel now? Or
yes, you are live.
Okay. Let me get to that live part. I'm trying to join your hangout. It wouldn't let me, so.
Yeah, I think once you've been kicked out of the hangout, whoever kicks you also blocks you, so you can't rejoin. That's their typical MO.
Why'd you kick me, man? I mean, I actually dropped because of my connection, actually. Oh, what the heck?
This is the gentleman I wanted to speak with. This is great.
No, nobody kicked you. Your connection is just bad.
No, I understand that. I actually lost connection.
So I don't know if you got to hear my explanation of how the Catholic Church created a false flag with Galileo and how we hold on to these stories and not really critically analyze them.
Go ahead.
I was saying, I don't know if you heard my explanation of Galileo and the Catholic Church and how we hold on to these stories without critically analyzing them.
No, go ahead.
So essentially, you're talking about the Catholic Church at the time is killing heretics around the world, making examples of them, inquisitions and things of that nature. And supposedly Galileo is the greatest heretic in the world for saying the world's a globe, and he gets house arrest. That, my friend, is a false flag.
But I mean, the question
That's like Jeffrey.
here,
That's equated to Jeffrey Epstein getting 6 months in prison. You see what I'm saying?
okay, but the question, the original thing that I was talking about was that you guys were actually saying that the Catholic Church, originally, and you guys, I got this recorded. You guys can't, just back up on this. I brought
we don't back
Catholic Church, and you said the Catholic Church was in on this. You said the Catholic Church, they're perpetrators. They're the guys that are in on this. And I said, well, wait a minute. What about Martin Luther? And what about the Reformation? And what about, the Renaissance in the church, and what about him, posting his theses, and basically, all that. And basically, because I'm talking about indulgences. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about why not just have the world, because the world was already acclimated to paying indulgences for sin. Why not just instead of, and I know you guys said that the moon landing is fake and all that is fake, but the footage costs money to do. I mean, believe me, I've got green screen back here, right? I've got stuff back here that I paid money to do. I paid good money. I got a mic. I've got all kinds of stuff, and I paid a lot of money in the 21st century to do. They paid a lot.
I don't mean to be rude,
money.
but could you get around to your point, because we're running out of time?
Yes, they paid a lot of money back in those days to perpetrate that kind of hoax. So the bottom line is what I'm saying is the overarching logic of this is, why wouldn't the Catholic Church just keep accepting money and just saying there's demons out in the sky? And I want to parallel this with one thing.
I already explained this to you.
Just before you do parallel it, Remy, can I just address that one point? So we do still pay indulgences. We pay taxes for things like our carbon emissions.
Yeah, but we pay taxes.
That's still the case.
Too.
We do still have indulgences. They've just been renamed.
Have you ever heard render unto seizure? All right. We paid taxes way back in the Roman times, okay? Taxes aren't some new thing that happened with the Catholic Church.
No, but in Roman times, the taxes were a lot lower, and they were actually serving a direct and noticeable purpose. They paid for the military system.
Show me evidence.
For whatever they're worth.
Show them to me, because you don't accept my historical records.
You don't have any historical records.
One historical record.
You show me.
I have Magellan. I have
Rome. You have a lot of Jesuits.
Copernicus. You won't show me the Roman historical records that you just stated.
No, I'm just stating a general baseline, and that is that the taxes were a lot lower even back then. And they serve a direct purpose that the people would accept, because it was wartime and you need security.
I'm stating a general baseline that Magellan circumnavigated the globe.
Yeah, that's good.
So how's that different? How's that different from your general baseline?
Well, that doesn't really have anything to do with the societal functioning. Really, it's just a guy that supposedly did something.
I'm stating the general consensus for the Foucault pendulum.
Foucault pendulum. It's nice and all.
1851. Foucault's pendulum. Yeah,
I know about it. It's nonsense. It's a machination.
Yeah,
okay, so your tax information is a machination.
No, that's just recorded, and it's logic. It's taxation.
Well, why is it
a foundation of society?
Okay,
it's a very simple system. The higher the taxes, the more it will cause friction among the public if it becomes too high. And if it's just pocketed by the rich, then the poor will eventually revolt.
So circumnavigation with the globe is just
this was a period of time. We can agree, when Copernicus came out, we can agree that this was a period of time that expedition had reached a whole new level. And so it could quite possibly be that they were just trying to hide a lot of freaking land from us at that point.
Well, there's a great chance to that. It was commonly done, even by there's been mentioned
suddenly. We've been around the world. There's nothing to see.
Later ages, even in the 20th century, in the 19th century, that discovered tribes, like for example in Indonesia, Australia, that they had no knowledge of other lands beyond their landmass. This
Okay.
is normal.
I accept that. I
Yeah.
accept. Now, but the problem with your argument before, and I just want to, there are logical fallacies. All right, look it up. There are logical fallacies. You were stating something from antiquity that you had no firsthand knowledge of, and I'm stating something from antiquity that I have no firsthand knowledge of. And you're saying that what you stated from antiquity that you had no firsthand knowledge of, which is taxes, and what the rate was back in Caesar's era, was actually the same as we're paying now. But you have no firsthand knowledge of that.
Right.
All you have is the same
and
knowledge.
what is
that I
your
have
actual
that
proof for
Copernicus
that? What is your
circumnavigated the
proof
globe.
for that?
Huh?
What is your proof that the taxation back then is the same as it is now? Because
I ask you the same question. What is
I
your
agree.
proof?
You're both on the same page, it sounds like. Neither of you've
Exactly,
got any
see?
primary
What
sources
is-
for any of this stuff.
And
So,
unfortunately,
yeah.
I don't understand the
What
relevance
is your
either.
proof that taxes were the same back then? Okay. It's the same logical fallacy, okay? So at
they
least be
didn't have a
consistent.
lot of
At least be
subjects to
consistent.
basically.
At
They
least
had
be
to-
consistent in your
Taxation
thought
only
process.
works when you give good enough reasons for people to pay it. Otherwise, they will revolt. And back then, they didn't have space agencies and science
What are
and
good
all that.
enough
They had
reasons?
priesthood
60
and they had
seconds
the
left,
military.
guys.
Yeah, good enough. Yeah, good enough reasons are you're
About
going to
60
get killed.
seconds left, just so
All
you know.
right.
About a minute left.
But today, in today's world, good enough reasons are you're going to get put in jail, which is basically the same reasons they put back then. You're going to get put in jail. It's the same thing. It's the same process. If you
No,
don't pay
that's the
taxes, you're going
result
to
for
get
not
thrown in
paying.
jail.
It's not the reason for paying. The reason is, look, we're spending this money on this and that and that. And
I will
that.
not.
And it is
I will-
kind of a good enough reason for the majority of people that'll feel like, yeah, that is actually something we're investing in that's helping society.
Yeah.
If you're just saying, yeah, we're pocketing it all because we just want it, then people will revolt. And now there's a lot more stuff
At least
to
admit.
uphold
Listen,
people to tell
All
them,
right.
yeah, this is the good reason for you to pay all this.
my
We didn't
friend,
have that back then.
my friend, you're going to look a lot better. All right.
Nathan, great job on
On-
hot potatoes.
On my podcast, you're going to look a lot better if you admit that you're using antiquity and you're using secondhand knowledge, because that's all you guys claim that I'm using is secondhand knowledge.
No,
to prove
you are
the
just
Earth is
claiming
flat.
that you're using
You
it. You
use-
just
you
admitted
use
that you
the
have
same
the same
thing.
equal amount of proof that I have for this stuff.
Ridiculous.
I'm not even saying that I know the exact amount. I'm just saying that
Yes.
it is historically known that
Well, I can-
taxes
Well, I can
used to
rewind
be
this.
lower and that they have increased over time. And
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and sharing this show. And of course, a massive thank you for the patience of the debating panel. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.